Hi, everybody, and welcome to a special emergency political podcast of Newsmakers TV. I'm Jerry Roberts. It is Saturday, August 30th. That's how emergency it is, Labor Day weekend. I am delighted to welcome back in Monique Limon, our very own state senator from Santa Barbara, soon to be Senate Pro Tem of the state Senate, the second or third highest ranking office in Sacramento, depending how you count it. But we want to talk about Proposition 50 and the November 4th special election, and she's agreed to spend a little bit of time on her weekend doing that. That's topic A, B, and C on the political agenda. Senator, I'm reminded of the words of C.K. Chesterton, the British humorist, about journalism, who said, "Journalism consists of shouting, 'Lord Jones is dead,' to people who never knew Lord Jones was alive." And here we are talking about Proposition 50 and the special election. And I dare say most people who've been enjoying their summer have not heard about either one. So let's level set. What is Proposition 50, first of all?
So Proposition 50 is an initiative that is going to be put in front of the voters for the voters to decide whether or not they would like to temporarily amend the congressional district maps in California as a result of Texas and other states amending their districts as well. So that's what is Proposition 50. And that's on the ballot on November 4th.
Yeah. And so, I'm old enough to remember a man named Phil Burton who used to draw the congressional districts for the California Democrats on the back of a napkin. And of course, we went through a big statewide political debate about this. And in 2010, voters approved Proposition 20, which put the job of drawing these maps for the districts to an independent commission. Now, this Proposition 50 would redo that on a temporary basis, but specifically because we're getting into this brawl about gerrymandering and redistricting nationwide. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is just temporary. And I will say that it doesn't change the independent commission's ability to change every decade, right? To reconstruct the decade. So some of the debate has been around mid-decade districting, and that's different in this particular case. They will still, the independent redistricting commission does not go away.
Right. And I think it's also important to point out we're talking here specifically about the 52 House seats, House of Representative seats in California, not Assembly and State Senate district lines, correct?
That's correct. This is only for the House seats, the congressional seats for California. It is not for any other position, including state legislative seats. This is temporary, very focused on congressional district, and it's a result of what other states have done here that we felt the need to move forward.
All right. The last time we talked was in June. We were talking about your elevation, the big honor for you and really important for the state and for Santa Barbara. But I dare say you did not expect that when you would return from summer recess, this would be this would be the subject that would be occupying your so much bandwidth, both personally and politically and throughout Sacramento. How did this all come about? Walk us through how you became aware of this. It all came together really fast.
It did. And look, I think that in California, we became aware of it once the President of the United States publicly indicated that they were asking Texas to do this. And so that
It
was
was July 15th.
that was July 15th, right? And so that's when we all became aware of it. We didn't understand whether or not that would come to fruition. But once we saw the Texas governor agree to gerrymander, we became really concerned. And so for a few weeks, we were watching what was happening and trying to understand if indeed they were going to do this. And this comes, I think this is really, really key, because in terms of the deliberation that was had, I want to make sure everybody knows it was a very difficult deliberation, but it also came at a time where $811 million were paused for K through 12 funding, where $1.25 billion
This is federal
for
funds.
SNAP.
Federal,
These are all
federal.
federal funds. SNAP, dollars for California SNAP programs were lost, and where we were not eligible, they did not actually give us the $900 million in disaster preparedness grants that we had already received. And so while this conversation is happening, we're also feeling the impacts of these changes at the federal government, particularly in light of the funding that they've cut to California, to our needy, to our hungry, and certainly to those in distress. And we felt that if the president and Texas were changing the rules, that then we needed to adopt a system to amend our system to play to their rules that they triggered. And so that's what happened. Come July 15th, we started watching, and by the time we got back to session, there had been robust discussions among members, and it was very difficult. We are so proud in California of our Independent Redistricting Commission, and the Independent Redistricting Commission actually, their analyses, their deliberation, which were all public, right, were part of the thinking and the deliberation, and certainly the outcome of what you see here in California that we are putting to the ballot. And that's one really key difference. In California, we as a state legislative, body did not make that decision. We proposed that decision to be made by the voters of California. That is not what other states are doing. We are taking it back to the voters, and voters will get to ultimately decide if they want to move forward with the amended maps come November 4th.
Yeah. And if I could just broaden your point about the federal money, I mean, we have seen what Donald Trump has done in 7 months of this presidency, which is basically do away with the rule of law and the balance of power and anything other than absolute executive authority. The only shred of institutional power that Democrats could wield in the next short term is taking back the House. And I think that's why Trump sees this as such a threat. And if he can hold on to the Republican grip on the House, they've become completely supine, do whatever he wants, then he has untrammeled power. So, I mean, I think the stakes are very high nationally. That said,
absolutely, Congress controls the purse. I mean, that's where it comes down
or
to.
they used to.
Well, right, they used to, and now it's the president, and we, it's a concern to us. We didn't play partisan politics when it came to disaster relief. We didn't play partisan politics when it came to feeding, the hungry. There was things that were not, under past Republican presidents were not the case, and so we're very, very concerned at this particular point. And at some point, despite having 37 lawsuits in the state of California, we needed to act and we needed to do something, since they had changed the rules to how redistricting happens. And so for us, despite the debate, I mean, there is only so much we can take. There is only so much that, we as state representatives, can abide by. And so we are still abiding by our California Constitution. We are still taking this to the voters, but we are also very determined to say, look, enough is enough. This has been very difficult 7 months. This isn't just a partisan issue. This is really about what we see coming from the federal government in terms of undoing our Constitution. And that's something that I think is very, very important to us. The moment that I knew that I would be supporting this was a moment that happened during fiestas, where I had gone out to one of our local community spots where people gather, and the organizers had described to me a plan on what they would do if there were raids. And it was such a detailed plan that included how much food, how much water would be there, who would, blow whistles. And I just thought enough is enough. Like, this is not okay. And we have seen certainly here in our district, US citizens exercising their constitutional rights be picked up by raid. And so, by raids that happen in our community. And that has been a deep concern. We believe in due process. We believe in the Constitution. We believe in our rights. And that's why we're taking it back to the voters. But at some point, California has to say that this is not okay. And, our lawsuits, despite the fact that we are going through this process, going through the lawsuits of the judicial system, we are having to respond to what is coming to us from the President of the United States.
All right. Let me ask you about the politics of it for a second. I've already received 4 mailers from my best friend Charles Munger, and I want to ask you about him in a second. He's a wealthy investor who's on the other side of this. He's no on 50, and one of the original architects of the commission. But I'm sure that the basic message from the pro side is going to be yes, your side, yes on 50. That we have to stop Trump. The yes side's a little more complex, but you're going to win on, the large majority of Democrats. The people you have to win are people like me, which is, I'm a sort of an independent, good government goo type. I was very in favor of Proposition 20 at the time. I wrote about it. What's the basic argument that you make to people like me who might say, yes, Texas did this bad thing and Trump's bad, but 2 wrongs don't make a right, and we shouldn't undo the reforms that we have in order to respond to that?
The reforms that we have are not being undone. The independent commission is still in place. This is about our community and saying, hey, we have got to put a stop on this, and we're taking it back to the voters. That's it. The voters get to make this decision on November 4th. Good government is still in place. When you look at the redistricting, it was those principles and values of good government, of the independent redistricting committee, that shaped the new maps. And certainly even some of what you see in the new maps were things that were publicly deliberated and discussed by the independent commission that took place just a few years ago. So those pieces are all in place. Good government is transparency, and good government is also saying we're going to protect our communities. Enough is enough. Both of those things are good government. It is not just one process at one time. Certainly you saw that there are members of the independent redistricting committee that are at odds with each other. They understand. It's not that there's this unanimous approval or disapproval. It's their understand that in this moment in time, we have to meet that moment. And that moment is different than other times, but transparency still exists. We haven't gotten rid of our independent redistricting committee, but we also have got to put our communities and the safety and the feelings of our communities first.
All right. In addition to your influential position in the state, I know you also are on some national Democratic groups, talk about strategy and so on. I mean, the other thing that's going on is we're in the middle of a redistricting arms race. Texas started it, California responded. Now, yesterday, I see the governor of Missouri is calling his group into session. And the calculations I've seen is if you sort of play this out to infinity, Republicans are going to win. They're going to have more states to gerrymander and more seats. Do you worry at all that this, it could have unintended consequences that actually hurt the Democrats in the midterms?
So look, I think we worried from day one. We believe if the laws were kept as is, if we did not, do this, we were worried, right? Like we have been worried since the president and the Texas governor have agreed to do this. And it also, it doesn't do us right by the people that we represent. I think a lot of people have gotten caught up in just the politics. We're really looking at the potential outcomes to the people of California. More cuts I think that, that's something that we have deep concerns about, more undoing of some of our environmental protections, less support to our K through 12 schools, a complete radical shift in how we do healthcare that will leave many, many, many here in this area without access to healthcare. All of those things are the reasons that we're doing this. So we've been worried since day one. And also we have made it very clear that absent Texas or any other state doing this, we would not move forward. We were not the first to pull the trigger. As you saw, Texas already signed that law, never took it to the voters to make that decision. That was done purely on a partisan line in the state legislature in Texas. And so we don't have that choice. I think the window to reconsider has left us. And we also know that the reason that they're doing this is because they do not believe that they can win the election in the midterms as is. Given the fact that things are more expensive, the economy is tanking, there is a strong response to what people are seeing all throughout this country in terms of the raids that are happening, the impact that it is having to communities, to schools, to our citizens. I mean, the list goes on, and this is their way to rig the elections. And we feel we needed to do this for our state. Other states will make the determination what they do. And certainly this is never where we wanted to be. And we've been very public about that.
Yeah. Hamburger, $6 a pound. I suggest you guys start talking about that. Do you have any sense, based on your conversations with your colleagues around the country, that other Democratic governors and legislatures are going to jump in here? Or are we going to be, is California going to be kind of, music's going to stop and we're the ones without a chair? Are there going to be other states that join this fight?
Well, certainly, I think that there are discussions about other states. I don't know what other states will do at the level of the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, the DLCC, and that's one of the groups that I'm involved with. They are certainly having this conversation with other Democratic states as well. And in the end, this is about rigging the elections. This is about rigging the 2026 elections at the national level. And there is a deep concern. We will see what happens with other states. And regrettably, when the president and the Texas governor decided to move forward, many other states were put in this position of, wow, there is going to be an intent to gerrymander. And so how do we respond? If we do nothing, it does not help our community. We have got to at least attempt to to slow this down, to stop this by putting this out to our voters in November.
Yeah, I had my friend and colleague Mark Baerback from the LA Times, a political columnist, on the other day, and we were talking about this. And his take really is, oh, this is really about Gavin's 2028 presidential race. My argument is two things can be true. What do you say to people that say this is just a Gavin Newsom play to grab power and to boost his chances for running for president?
As I just mentioned to you, the moment where I knew that I would be supporting this had nothing to do with a 2028 election and had everything to do with what people in this district are experiencing, the way that people are feeling in this moment. It didn't have anything to do. And I think that many will say that it has to do with the 2028 election. But for the majority of the legislators that I work with in both the Assembly and the Senate, they can all point to moments, situations, policies, huge cuts in our communities that led them to make this decision. And I think, to what's happened in Los Angeles, the fact that they have, pulled back federal aid, that they're not awarding some of our emergency grants that FEMA had awarded. I mean, these are real impacts that are impacting people's lives. And I hope that we don't lose sight of what people are feeling, and that being the motivation that's behind where legislators stand.
Yeah, my concern is if the Democrats don't win the House in 26, we may not have a 2028 election. But say a word, if you will, about this fellow Munger, Charles Munger. He's the son of the late Charles Munger Sr., who was, of course, the Warren Buffett's business manager. But he was very involved in getting this thing passed, I think, for principled reasons in 2010, the Independent Commission, I mean, Prop 20. But he's now talking about spending $100 million of his own money, and he's well on his way, if my mailbox is any indication. Who is he, and why is he doing this?
I don't personally know him. I think those of us in Santa Barbara know him for a variety of reasons. Right. And look, I think when you have billionaires trying to influence the election, I think that speaks for itself. We're putting this back in the hands of the voters. For us, we have also learned that in California voters do not allow money to buy elections. And so, it's going to be a robust debate. And so if there is a billionaire who wants to spend that money, certainly national and state laws don't stop that individual from doing that. What we know that it is going to take a lot. You will see many people on the ground. We encourage anyone listening that wants to get involved to go to stopelectionrigging.com to sign up. And
I'm sorry, say it again.
Stopelectionrigging.com. And I will tell you that we have heard that just in the first week or so, we have gotten tens of thousands of people to volunteer to say that they want to speak to a neighbor. And so you will still get a whole lot of mails. We know that, but we also know that there are people in the community that are ready to say enough is enough. We need to stop this. And we at least have to attempt to slow down the fact that we're seeing chaotic raids, that we're seeing a degradation of due process, that we're seeing, the disillusion of federal agencies that help our community, that we're seeing, a federal government that's withholding natural disaster funds. We're seeing national, armed guards in our communities patrolling our streets. This is more than just, this is about what our communities are seeing on the ground.
All right. All right. Well, you've been so generous with your time. Let me just ask you one more question. As you know, historically, 2 out of every 3 ballot propositions in California is voted down. People tend to vote no when things are complicated and they don't understand it. This is complicated. What happens if you lose this? What do you see as the political implications?
Look, if we lose it, we stay where we're at. Nothing changed, right? Nothing changes with our election system. What does change is we don't have the ability to have more voices in California. I think that that's another piece that's really critical, right? We are going from saying we're going to have 52 members to we will have, more members that represent California. That to me is really, really critical. We are asking our voters to say, send more Californians, more voices to DC that can stand up for us, that can fight for California, that can make sure
more California Democrats, more California Democrats. We don't gain an absolute number of seats.
We gain more California Democrats. And for us, that is really key. For us, and look, the voters at the end of the day are going to decide each race. So I also don't want to speak in absolutes. We don't know where the voters will land on November 4th, and certainly we will see where they land. But we feel very good, and I think that the outcome of that is that we maintain the status quo, and we don't have the ability or a tool. This is one of many tools that California is using to stand up and to push back against everything that's happening. But we feel very strongly that this is a tool that we need to have, in addition to the lawsuits, in addition to ensuring that our laws have ways to protect the California programs, initiatives that we have in place. We are doing everything that we can. If we lose this, it will be one less tool to be able to stop this.
All right. Senator Monique Limon, Senator Pro Tem in waiting. Thank you so much for taking the time on a Saturday morning to speak with us about this extremely important issue and for explaining the case for Proposition 50. I know you're busy. You adjourn September 15th?
The 12th. So between now and September 12th, the legislature is in full mode, working at 110%.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Monique, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you.
Great to talk with you. Bye-bye.